Hello everyone, this is Starzenith33 Laura Francesca here talking about the Astroweather with the moon in Aries, and it's making a challenge to Jupiter, okay? And so we're going to be talking about the impact that this moon is doing, okay, where it is the moon in Aries is squaring Jupiter in Cancer. And so there could be this emotional impulsiveness, this overextension, this acting before you're thinking, emotional courage, protection, family dynamics, and the tension between independence and security, okay? So there is a lot of things going on, so let's head over there and talk about it. Okay, so we are here talking about the Astroweather now, and I had previously did the episode, okay, but I don't know what happened that it just stopped recording. I don't know. I'm actually talking from my microphone, my actual microphone that I have, like those professional microphones, and I did it because it's pretty quiet right now. And I have these other microphones where it cancels the background noise, right? But since it's pretty quiet right now, I'm talking out of the bigger microphone instead of that one because I could sound more clearer, okay? And I kind of miss using this microphone here. It makes me feel more professional. But anyway, so that's why you might hear me a little bit more clear, a little bit more louder maybe. So let's jump in here with the moon in Aries, okay? Because I had, like I mentioned, I did the other episode and I had to delete it because I was like, I thought I was recording all this time and I was not. So I don't know if it got unplugged from the phone or something. I don't know. It only did 10 minutes and I was already about half an hour talking. And I was like, wait a minute, isn't the numbers are not moving, like the timing. So I knew it did not record it. I was like, gosh, but it's okay. Technical difficulties. We're still in Pluto in retrograde. Okay, so, in the sign of Aquarius, which has to do a lot with technology, it has to do with microphones and the sound and everything like that. Okay, so we're dealing with a lot of things in the past, and so a lot of things might not function as properly, and that's okay. You don't got to get all flustered about it. Just redo it again, right? So that is what's going on. But it was a bummer because I was like, oh man, I was already halfway in. So now I got to redo. And so we are here now. So when I was doing the episode, it was at 19 degrees, the moon in Aries, which had to do with arguments and war. And I don't know if you guys are following me on X, but if you guys are, at X, I'm at Starzenith33, if you guys want to follow me there. But yeah, I got in this little opinion type of war, little mini war. It was not really a mini war. It's just my opinion of how I felt about an article I read about Donald Trump signing a big gigantic bill to fund ICE agents, and that number was huge. I think it was like $70 billion. It's like, what are we going to do with $70 billion for ICE agents, right? For the next 4 years, till his his run runs out, and now we choose another president, right, for the next 4 years. So he said he didn't want to deal with it anymore, and so now that they signed the contract, I think he did it prematurely. I think that it's actually going to cost him more than he thinks it is, because it could affect Wall Street. It could affect stocks. It could affect the world economy. Okay. That was a big, big bill that he signed. And so when you fund an agency, right, when you fund an agency with so much money like that, there's more probability that there's going to be more chaos. Okay, because now they're going to be able to create maybe more jail places around the United States, right? In Texas or wherever it is. And, incarcerate way more immigrants, right? When the immigrants that have came here is to work, they're paying taxes. So they're actually funding, because, in Los Angeles alone, Latinos, especially Mexicans, because the majority are Mexicans in Los Angeles, is they're paying with their EIN. They're paying taxes with their EIN number, which is like a social security number that they qualify for. And, they're paying taxes. They're being responsible. They're paying their taxes like they should, right? And that is being funded. The taxes that they're paying is being funded to pay the ICE agents. And that's how the bill got approved. In Los Angeles, just alone, and this has been several years ago. I'm pretty sure is way bigger today. But there was an article that showed that Latinos every year, okay, they contribute $500 million. Okay, every year, $500 million that they contribute just in Los Angeles, not Texas, not Arizona, not San Francisco, just Los Angeles. That's it. This is why Democrats have a lot of money. This is why, it's very expensive in California. But this is not about Democrats and it's not about Republicans, okay? Because, the whole MAGA, that's all Republican. And I just don't agree with this bill, because there could be more chaos that can happen because it's funded, right? So when there's funding, you can do more, right? This is why, right now, what's going on right now with the Gate 45 in human design. I'm not a human design expert. I'm not a human design reader. I don't read charts in human design. I would like to learn maybe one day, I don't have the time right now, but there are classes that you can take and you get certified and so forth. And it's very fascinating. I find the body very fascinating. And I think because I'm all into health and so forth. And that would be maybe a study I would love to learn. But little by little, I'm getting to know, what it means and our bodies and so forth. And so there's this Gate 45 that the whole collective is going through right now. And it has to do with money. Okay. But there also is this entitlement as well, right? If you did the work, then fine, you should be able to have money, right? But if you have not done the work and there's this entitlement, this ego that is attached to this money, this big money, okay, then I don't feel that you should receive it. It's called entitlement. It's called fulfilling the ego, right? And so what this big bill that's funding the ICE agents, we know they're criminals, okay? We know, and I'm not the only one saying this, okay? I've heard other podcasters that talk about politics and so forth. They've talked about these ICE agents, and they're not either Republicans or Democrats, okay? They're just talking just as opinionated podcasters. They're very involved in politics, and they follow politics. And they had mentioned that these ICE agents, they're criminals, okay? They're gangsters. They're crazy gangsters that are being trained to hurt people, hurt immigrants, and jail them and beat them up and rape them, and very masculine, big. If you notice how they hire them, they're really big, They look like bouncers, like at a club. And they'll just grab you if you look brown, or they'll racial profile you and just put you in a van and stick you in a van and takes you who knows where. And so that should not be a law. Okay, that should be illegal to be able to do that, and they've been able to do that even if you had an ID, even if you had a social security card. And so I just feel that when there's more funding, they're able to do more of that. And like I said, I'm not the only one that's saying that they're criminals. There's a lot of other podcasters that are saying that, yeah, they're criminals, they're bullies. They want to get applauded. They want to be known as heroes of what Donald Trump calls them, right? That they're heroes. Heroes of what? Of beating up immigrants? No, you know? And you need to understand that here in the United States, this was built upon immigrants, okay? Hispanics were the only ones that were living here in the United States many, many centuries ago, okay? And so when you understand that and that we are the engine that drives the United States, that drives this economy, okay, then you will know that we need to stay here. If we are doing a contribution to the United States, and if they are paying with their EIN number, they're paying taxes, they should be allowed to stay here. You know, it's only that when it comes to money, you know, you'll take their money. Yeah, pay us money, give us, you know, tax money, give us money, right? But when it comes to the immigrants' rights, oh, they have no rights. We'll take all their rights away. We'll take everything, you know, and you need to understand that I heard a download today before I jumped on the podcast, and it said no more MAGA. Okay. And honestly, sometimes I don't know where the downloads are coming from. I will know if it comes from God, because it will be something more spiritual. But when it comes to like politics and so forth, there's other people on the other side, which I call it Laura's team. Okay. Laura's spiritual team. And they advise me a lot. They tell me things and I'm like, and sometimes I won't say them, okay? And just to test them out to see if it's true or not. And then like 2-3 days later, it happens. And it's like, whoa. And I did hear that download. That download came to me, you know. I would say something like that, you know. And but sometimes I don't like to say it too much, you know what I mean? Because I don't, they already know I get downloads, but you know, I just, I don't know. I just, sometimes I'm trying not to say too many of what I hear. But I did hear today no more MAGA. So if there's no more MAGA, then that means that this country is going to be made by immigrants. So if you look at the astrology, Aquarius and Pluto is about the collective. Okay. Aquarius, traditionally it was ruled by Saturn, but it was given to Uranus, right? So this is why a lot of Aquarius are very innovative. Drinking my drink here. And they're very innovative. And when it comes to Aquarius, it's very Latinos, very innovative. And Aquarius has to do with the collective. Okay. Now, when Pluto was in Capricorn, then you would say, okay, it would be MAGA, right? Because it rules the elites, it ruled, you know, billionaires and so forth, you know. But in Aquarius, it has to do with the young people. It has to do with influencers. It has to do with the young people. It has to do with technology, the aliens, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to believe in that. It rules innovation. It rules entrepreneurship, okay? It rules immigrants. It rules the collective, right? And it's not like, let me see your password, or you can't sit here, or you're not part of the circle. No, it's about come join our circle, come be our friend. Let's connect, let's network, that's what Aquarius is about. So that's why I am not too shocked why I heard no more MAGA. Because no more MAGA would mean that it's now about the collective. Okay? So, you know, that whole slogan, the whole MAGA, that's just non-existent now, you know. So now we're moving forward with the collective, okay? Having to support the collective. Many countries, man, you know, this whole FIFA, that's what it's about. It's about celebration of, you know, like different countries, you know, in Europe and Mexico and Italy and, all of that. So, and I think it's a beautiful thing because everybody's proud of their own country, of where they come from, and they wear their pride on them, right? And so I think the whole FIFA is it's a great celebration, not for MAGA, for many countries, okay, of sports and all of that. So I don't know. I just have to say my say because I just think this bill that was signed by Donald Trump and him calling them heroes, they're not heroes. No, they're not heroes at all. They're criminals, and they're bullies. And this is what I heard a podcaster say about the ICE agents. Okay, they said that they are these bullies that went to high school and they couldn't get ahead. Okay, they couldn't be in the football team, they couldn't be in the baseball team, they were just losers, and they probably would ditch a lot. Maybe they would go to their class and just cut class. They probably were getting into food fights, or just walking around being bullies, bullying these more skinny guys in the locker or something, or being bullied actually in the I think it's a gym. They have the lockers in yeah, the whole gym thing, because I've seen that before, even with females. Females will bully other females. It was crazy. And they would just stick them into the showers. It was so crazy in my school. In junior high, I remember there was these like bigger girls that would, you know, go towards these skinny girls, and they would just be so jealous and envious of them, and they will pick them up, and then they will open the shower because the shower was just right there, they will open the shower and they would just throw them in the shower. And I was just like, wow, how mean is that? That's why when I used to change in my locker, I was like, okay, just change out of my gym clothes and then grab my stuff and I would get out of there. I was like, I am not going to get caught in, because I'm the type that they would probably come up to me and try to throw me in the shower. And I just, the whole bullying thing, that. And so what they said is that these ICE agents, they're the types that went to school, they never got rewarded, they never got trophies, they were always losers, they were always getting rejected and so forth. And all of a sudden they become an ICE agent, and now Donald Trump's rewarding them, rewarding these villains, right, with certificates and awards, and you're doing such a great job, and this is something that they never received when they were in high school. They probably never received it at home, right? Maybe they were fatherless, maybe the mother was a single mom or something, and they never got claps, nobody applauded them, nobody gave them a certificate. They didn't have no certificates there hanging in and I'm looking at my wall because I'm looking at my certificates. I'm looking at my marathon medals and all that. That's all very Capricorn. But that's what that podcaster said. These were these bullies that never got recognized, and all of a sudden they become these ICE agents, and now they're heroes. But they need to hire these kind of guys that look like bouncers from a club, because they need to be scary looking. They need to pick up people and just stick them in cars or vans or whatever it is, and that's what they're trained for. And yeah, because nobody in their right mind is going to want to be one of those agents, okay? You had to be like a bully. Maybe you have to pass the bully test or something. I don't know. And I was just like, when I heard that, I was like, yep, that is so true. Like, I could see that. I could see that, yeah, patterns, look at those patterns. So anyway, so that's what's going on. So I just did not agree with the whole. So I got into this little opinion thing in X, where I said I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the big funding on there, because it can create more of that, more chaos and so forth. I just don't agree with it. And so right now, where the moon is right now, it was at 19 degrees of war and arguments. And when I actually was doing all that in X and being opinionated on X, but now the moon in Aries is at 20 degrees. And When the moon's at 20 degrees, is the degree of Scorpio. So there's this deep knowing, okay, where the moon is in Aries, okay. And let me actually refresh it because I've been on this. The moon. Let me see here. Yeah, so let me hang on one sec here. Okay, so yeah, so right now what the moon is doing, it is squaring Jupiter, and now it's squaring Venus. Okay, so earlier it was not squaring Venus. It's squaring Venus, which is not good, and it is squaring Jupiter. And let's see here. It is it is squaring Fama, which is fame. So, when the moon is in Aries, this is a cardinal sign. Okay, so it's affecting Aries and Libra and Cancer and Capricorn. So it's either squaring or opposing. Okay. And that's what happens when it's a cardinal sign. A cardinal signs means leadership signs. Okay, these are all the leaders, the Libras, the Aries. Even though you might not see some Libras leaders, but then, you know, Karen Bass is a Libra. A lot of judges and attorneys, and she's not a good leader, by the way, but she is a Libra. Newsom is another Libra. So most likely a lot of these leaders, they get into politics and so forth. And so it is opposing, the moon is opposing right now. There's something about the moon right now. Let me see what house it's in. It's in the seventh house of relationships. Okay. So there is the motto there is we are when it comes to the seventh house. Okay. And it's at a degree of Scorpio that has to do with wealth and money. It also has to do with the police and so forth. The public sector. It has anything to do with the seventh house. It could be our attitudes about competition. It could be open enemies. Okay. It also represents partners, the partners that we attract, the people that we attract, and contracts and so forth. Okay. So it could be the contracts, that big contract that was signed. Okay. With the moon in Aries at 20 degrees of the police or law enforcement or some sort of enforcement at 20 degrees of Scorpio. And it's big, big money. Okay. When we were talking about Scorpio, it's like big wealth. And that's where the moon is in Aries. Okay. As it squares Jupiter, okay, in the sign of Cancer, another cardinal sign, it's in the 10th house of public participation, okay, of I relate with the world. The 10th house is the status house. It's the applause, it's the recognition, it's the fame, okay? So even though, in spite of that signature of the contract, for example, the ICE contract, right? The challenge over here with Jupiter, which it's about faith, it's about beliefs, it's about expansion, it's about philosophy, it's about luck, okay? In the house of public participation, of how you relate with the world, of your reputation, okay, in your community and society, how you relate to fame, okay, achieving recognition, ambition, promotion, the carrying out of responsibility, okay, is being challenged because whatever the contract, whatever contract is being signed is being challenged here by the 10th house of real recognition, real ambition, real promotion, real responsibility, achievements of how the world sees us and evaluates us, our position in life, the downfalls and the rise of it, okay? In Jupiter in Cancer, which has to do with families, it has to do with children, it has to do with real estate. And it's challenging this contract that was signed. That pertains to families, it pertains to children, real estate, communities, love, marriages. The United States, by the way, okay? The United States was founded upon Jupiter in Cancer. The founding fathers, okay, was founded upon Jupiter in Cancer, and is challenging this big contract here with the, or any contract for the matter, with the moon in Aries. So the advice is not to like point the trigger and make a decision, and with this impulsiveness, okay, of acting before you're thinking. Okay, you got to think on decisions right now. It's not a great time to decide right now. Okay, as it challenges Jupiter here, something's being exposed. When the moon comes against Jupiter went on a square, something's being exposed here that pertains to children, that pertains to families. Okay. And so that's what's going on right now. And so that's not a good thing, because this is just letting us know that, why more isn't always better. Okay, because there's this, the more could be the amount of money. What are you going to do with so much money like that? And see, that's that gate 45. That gate 45 is that there could be this opportunity of coming into a lot of money, but the money could be so big, and it's like, what are you going to do with all of that money? Because to be entrusted with that big amount of money, there has to be good over the collective. And I know that it was not for the goodness of the collective. Okay, it was to bring more trauma. It was to bring more separations. It was to bring more racism. It was to bring, and we don't need any of that. Okay, we don't need any of that. And so there's many things to talk about when it comes to that contract right now that is being exposed. What is the real reason towards that contract? I don't trust that contract, right? It's going to affect families and children. And I've said it before, okay? And if you don't know, maybe the first time you're hearing it here in the podcast, is that if you hurt a female, or you bully a female, or children, because children has to do with Cancer, okay? It has to do with families, but it has to do with females and children. And if you hurt them, if you bully women or children, you're cursed, okay? In the United States, we're just talking about the United States. In other countries, maybe it's okay to kill women. Maybe it's okay to kill children. It should not be okay, but we know how it is in other parts of the world. Was like, it's normal. That's what happens over here, right? Like, for instance, in Mexico, they had the womicide or something, the femicide or something. They even named it. They even had a name for it, where there's a lot of women that die, right? A lot of influencers in Mexico have been dying in Mexico. And so it was the whole femicide. Yeah, they call it the femicide, because there's been a lot of women. And I already know, because I looked at the astrology of Mexico, and I know why a lot of women die in Mexico, because I think they have Cancer in, there's an asteroid about death, and it's in Cancer that has to do with females. And this is why there's a lot of females that end up dead in Mexico, especially in Jalisco. A lot of females that end up dead because of that asteroid that is in their chart. They're in the sign of Cancer. Okay, that has to do with females and a lot of children too. Okay, so here, in the United States, Cancer is in Jupiter. That has to do with expansion. It has to do with blessings. It has to do with God. Okay, it has to do with rewards, where it's more of an easier life. Okay, you don't have to struggle like Saturn. In Jupiter, it's very lucky, expansive. It can be a little bit over the top, but Jupiter is a great time. Jupiter is just very blessed. I love Jupiter because that's where, it's just very easy, easy to make money, easy to get into opportunities. Nothing should be difficult, but sometimes you do have to go through some difficulty because, not everything rains from the sky, right? You do have to, put some work in there and have some achievement so you can feel good about yourself instead of always, be giving everything on a silver platter like what they're doing with these ice agents. Okay. That was a silver platter, what they gave them. So this Jupiter here, in Cancer, we're blessed here in the United States. So if you hurt a female or here in the United States, or you hurt children here in the United States, the law's going to be tough. Okay. And, you cannot be doing that. And a lot of them have gotten away with it. And if you never heard that, well, now you do because of the astrology, because Jupiter protects. Okay. Whatever sits in Jupiter, it protects. And Jupiter in the United States, and we're having the return. Okay, it's almost wrapping up, but we've had it since last year. A return here for the United States, So, what Jupiter does, it protects. And what is it protecting? Children. What else is it protecting? Real estate. What else is it protecting? Women, females. The United States will build upon women, okay? It was built upon women. Women have the power in the United States. It is what it is. This is why a lot of men, try to take advantage of women or whatever, but it was built upon women with ruling femininity. Okay. This is why you tend to, if you're more in your feminine here in the United States, you tend to get more opportunities. You tend to get more rewards. You tend to get more gifts. You tend to, all of that, right? Here in the United States. In Mexico, it's different, but here in the United States, it's very blessed. It's a very blessed time. This is why if you do not protect the woman, if you do not protect your children, then what happens is that your work is going to become more difficult. Okay? You're going to have to work harder. Not only harder, it's going to be hard for you to make money. It's going to be way more difficult. And that's because you did not know how to treat women. So your karma is that you have to work more harder now. Money is just gonna, it's not gonna last. You're gonna notice your money's going away like really fast. And you have to work really hard. And opportunities are not gonna come to you as often. I don't know, if you're a man and you're listening to this and you have hurt a woman, you have killed a woman, you have killed kids, you have did all that. Ask yourself a question if your work has become easier because of all of that you've done. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, just think about your life. If you have hurt a woman, if you have abused a woman, if you have abused a child or whatever, how is your work right now in the position where you are right now? Are you getting a lot of opportunities for work? Probably not. You probably have to work more harder. You probably have to, maybe it's difficult to get work, A lot of times it could be other things. It could be the economy and so forth. But if it's year after year after year for many, many years that you've had to work hard and nothing comes easy to you, is because you have not treated the female right. Is because you have not treated children well. Maybe your own children. Maybe you have not known how to treat your own children. Right. Right. And so what happens is that now life becomes more difficult for you. And, it's karma. It is what it is. And sometimes it is sad for us to look at our own family members to see how hard they work. But we also have to come into understanding that this is some karma that they're going through. And, you know, they don't have to work, they don't have to work that hard, you know, but they do. It's part of the karma that they're going through, that in order for them to make money, well, they have to work hard. And so we need to learn how to treat females. We need to learn how to treat children good, um, and honor also our homes, because it also rules real estate. And so if you don't care about your home, if you don't clean it, if you don't take care of your home, then you're going to have more difficulty finding money, finding work, getting respect, okay? Because that's all part of also, when it comes to responsibility. And so for here in the United States, women should feel safe, okay? Because that's when the United States was founded. It was founded upon Jupiter and Cancer. It's making the return. I think it's 250. What is it? 256 or 250 anniversary or something like that. So anyway, so it's making a square to Jupiter there. So something's being exposed. Okay, in Cancer. Um, let's see. Hang on one sec here. So that's what's going on. I think it's very, and the square to Venus, is another thing too here. Um, in Cancer also, it right now where it's sitting is at 26 degrees of wealth. Okay, so Venus, the females right now, they're in their power, they're in their money, they're feeling confident. I would hope so. I know I am feeling confident. And it's coming together with the part of fortune, okay, in the sign of Leo at 1 degree of Aries. So right now, Venus and part of fortune coming together, that's powerful. And especially because where Venus is, like I mentioned, it's at 26 degrees. That's an 8. That's a lot of wealth, okay? And so it's even squaring. So right now, when the moon squares Venus, there could be some kind of argument, a love's quarrel. It could be something about money. Okay. So if you don't want to get into an argument, it's best to just back away. And then in a few hours, it won't be able to um, square it, or later on tonight. But right now, for the instance, right now, you could get into an argument with the lover's quarrel, or you could just be opinionated about money. Okay, something to do with money, and also with femininity. And the moon is also, it's a female. Okay, the moon rules females, but it is at a Scorpio degree, so there could be some masculinity to that as well, where there's power there. And then over here in Venus, it's more feminine. Okay, with that 26 degrees, that's a degree of Taurus. Okay, so it's more sensual. It is more, I would say, more worthy. 26 degrees, I mean, that's an 8 in Venus, and it's a more higher degree than the moon in Aries, which means that when the degree is higher, which is 26 degrees, and then the moon's at 20, that means that Venus has more power than the moon. Okay, so it's more advanced, it's more elevated. Um, it's the one that leads. Okay, the higher degree is the one that leads. That leads the lower degree. That's why it's good to have high degrees. Like in my Pisces, I have all high degrees. They're not. I'm not an early degree Pisces, so I have a lot of. Well, I'm a stellium in Pisces, a triple stellium, but um, all of them are in my 20 degrees, which is the third decan, the very last degrees there. And and that just means that, I've pretty much accomplished Pisces uh, frequencies, where you can't make me dumb. I'm not a crier, um, or anything like that. I'm pretty tough. So it's that kind of things that you got to pay attention to the degrees, right? And also when it's a early degree, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, early degrees, you're just a newbie. You're barely learning. You're barely learning the ropes. You're barely learning. Like for me, my Aquarius and Jupiter, it's a early degree, but it's a stable degree as well. It's a 4. So it does require stability and standards and all of that, but it's still an early degree. I'm still learning the ropes of how to innovate and how to market myself. And if it was a high degree, then it would be concerning if I'm not getting recognized, because it's like you should have been getting recognized already because you're at a high degree. But because it's an early degree and I'm really learning the ropes of how to put myself out there and how to market myself and so forth, which is a good thing, because you don't always want to know everything. You want to learn by experiences, right? So for me, I'm good with it, um, but it's time. It's time to get recognized. Because I have done a lot, I have done a lot. So anyway, that's what's going on. It's just the most important thing to talk about here in the astro weather is the moon that's in Aries, is going to be here all tonight. By tomorrow, it's going to enter Taurus, so it's going to be so much better because it's going to get off those squares and the oppositions that we're going through right now. Okay, so right now, love relationships are not getting along. Okay, there could be some arguments stirring up over money. Maybe you're spending too much money. Maybe you're not making enough money. Maybe you're counting pennies or something, or I don't know. Wherever you are, just understand that right now is a good time to do like. I was talking about some rituals yesterday that I seen that Mexicans in Mexico, what they do is that they wash their hands with vanilla, okay, but like vanilla extract. And they also use coffee grinds and they use cinnamon, okay? And they blend all of those in their hands, just like every day when they wake up in the morning and before they go to sleep, they wash their hands with, and it could just be just as simple as just cinnamon, you know? But they said what's been working is the vanilla. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, and I did some research on vanilla, and it turns out that I think the Aztecs, they used to use vanilla like their cocoa drink, and it goes dating back to the Aztecs, the dark vanilla. And it's interesting because a lot of the pheromones, a lot of the perfumes that they sell in TikTok that are vanilla scented. I don't know if it's true or not, but there's these viral videos that they've been talking about strippers that bought perfume that had vanilla in it, and every time they went to go strip at the strippers club or wherever, lounge, wherever they danced, they would spray that perfume that had vanilla in it, right? And they say every time that they sprayed themselves with that vanilla spray, that was like a perfume, they made a lot of money. And they noticed that when they wouldn't wear it, that they were testing and say, okay, I'm not going to wear it today. I'm just going to go dance, we'll do whatever. And then they didn't make as much money. But every time that they sprayed on that vanilla spray, that there's something about them making a lot of money. Like they made way more money than they should have, right? And they knew that the secret was the vanilla, right? And so you can do your own vanilla spray. Probably get a spritzer and just put some water and vanilla extract and make sure that it's not imitation. And it might be an organic or just the regular vanilla extract, and just put some in there and just spray your pillows, spray yourself, spray your hair, anything, or just buy some vanilla perfume. And there's a lot of spritzers. I actually bought one that was on sale, and because I'm not a vanilla person, I'm more of a musky, sandalwood type of, like, very, those strong smells, like Italians and Iranians, and they also have that strong musky, like very Capricorn. I just love that smell, which is the opposite of vanilla. But I decided to open myself up to vanilla, you know, and um, and it's not so bad. It's actually pretty good. I just thought it was just too sweet. But when I found out that vanilla equates to money, I started wearing vanilla spray. So now I have this vanilla spray, and I am washing my hands now with vanilla extract. So there's things you could do when the moon is squaring Venus. Okay. Venus has to do with money, and it has to do with love. Okay. And right now, because it's at the 26 degrees of money, okay, and there's a challenge with the moon in Aries right now, it's a good time to be washing your hands or your feet. You can even do it on your feet, or just putting olive oil. You can also do that. But I don't know. I'm getting used to using the vanilla extract and a little bit of cinnamon on my hands, and they do smell pretty good. But I use other things too. It's not just that. If I didn't have my perfumes and other things that I invest in, I probably would be washing my hands, a lot with cinnamon and vanilla and coffee grinds, and then your hands smell like sweet. They smell, they smell like coffee. They smell like cinnamon, and it's frequency. Okay, and then you're attracting money in spite of the moon squaring you. Okay. So those are some of the things to, think about, that you can pretty much, change the frequency. Okay. It's like we could change the channel of a television, right? We don't like that channel. We'll just change the channel into something else. And now we are aligned, right? And so that's what happens when there's a square like that. And it's trying to square your money. Okay. It's a good time to protect your money, okay? And do little things like that when it comes to something fun. I mean, I find it fun. And there's nothing wrong with putting a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon in your hands, unless it gets really itchy and maybe you're allergic to it. Maybe you shouldn't do it too much. But, if you put a little pinch of just cinnamon or just coffee, and then just wash it off with water. That's it. And you're in some money frequency. Also, it's good to wear jewelry. I wear a lot of jewelry as well. I actually purchased a recent, it's called Mexican blue agate. And I seen it in TikTok, and I just fell in love with it. And it's supposed to be protecting your work and your money and so forth. And many things. It's for many things. And I love the colors, like blue and black and white, and it looks very like not from this world. I don't know from where, but anyway, I really love it. And I got my turtle necklace as well. I got all these little things that I have to protect myself, because you have to, when the moon right now is squaring Venus. But once the moon goes into Taurus, it's going to be so much better. Okay. Right now, just steer away from arguments, and understand that, whatever is going on, just move forward. And, it's just going to be a lot of turmoil. We're preparing for that Chiron and Taurus to enter, and we're already seeing a lot earthquakes everywhere. And we're going to see more of it, okay, with Chiron and Taurus. The Taurus has to do with land. It has to do with real estate. We're probably going to see more soon. I'm hearing tsunamis and so forth. So just be prepared for the things that you hear around the world that are going to happen when it comes to Mother Nature, when it comes to nature and, just solar flares and all of that happening that affects real estate, affects land. Okay. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing what happened in the Philippines and what other place? San Francisco, I think, had a couple of earthquakes, or I think one earthquake. And where else was it? Somewhere, it was a Caribbean, I think. Somewhere in the Caribbean as well. There was something going on over there. So there's a lot of things going on. And in Cuba, what's going on in Cuba over there? That's a humanitarian crisis over there. So I'm going to be doing more of these astro weathers. I just wanted to just, podcast about what's going on right now and the decisions we make. I would actually not make any decision. That's my advice. Wait till the moon's in Taurus. We're going to feel so much good. Like warmth, and want to eat chocolate chip cookies and milk, and just homey, wanting to cook, and wanting to be out in nature, and it's going to be so much better. It's just when the moon's in Aries, there a lot of things can stir up arguments, and but a lot of things can get resolved also with the moon in Aries. Okay, because when we speak up is when people hear us. You got to be heard. You got to make noise, and you got to also not be afraid of confrontation. And I don't know, this year I got a moon in Aries, okay? I have a lot of Aries this year because of my solar chart. And so solar charts are birthday charts, and they're actually on my website at www.starzenith33.com. If you want to schedule an appointment, you can schedule one there. And I do readings there for solar charts, which are birthday charts, and they tell you everything that's going to happen for the whole year starting from your birthday. And for me, I have a lot of Aries, and my moon's in Aries this year. So I feel a lot of things. Like when I feel something, I'll say it. And I'm not somebody that's just going to be like it's okay with that. No, I will speak it up, and I will talk about it, and I will say this is not fair and this is not fair. I don't agree with that. Yeah, it can be kind of combative, but I'm still grounding myself. Okay. I have a grounding mat that helps me out a lot. And I have this other exercise plate that also helps my body, and like it shakes up all my body. It's such a cool gadget. And I just put my feet on there, and it looks like I'm surfing. And it shakes my whole body. So it's really good for the nervous system. It is really good for grounding, for inflammation, for all that, losing weight as well. So it's kind of like they say that it's the same thing as if you go for a run at the beach. If you go jogging or running, it's just, and I didn't think it worked, but it does. Okay. So I do it at night, and it helps me to wake up early, and I do it early in the morning as well. When I wake up, that's the first thing I do, and then just put on my headphones and just listen to 528 hertz of just music without lyrics. It's just vibration music and elevated music, and that's what I do early in the morning when I get up. And I love it how it shakes my entire body, because after a while I'm like a little bit sore, and I'm like, this thing has to work, because I don't have to even go to the gym. Okay, I just I step on my plate, and it wobbles all my body, and it's just amazing. I just love it. It was the best investment I think I've done when it comes to health and so forth, and I just love it because I don't have to go to the gym. So anyway, this is today's episode here. I'm going to be doing more, and I actually have to do a Spanish one, and then we are preparing for the new moon in Gemini. That's going to be interesting, okay, because it is going to be squaring Fortuna. So that is going to be interesting in the sign of jobs, in the sign of health, big pharma, Wall Street. It rules world economies, and yeah, so that's coming up as well. Okay, that's coming up as well. And so, this is just to put awareness, it's not to put fear, and just to prepare, just to prepare for times like this. And, start doing your little rituals of washing your hands and praying, and just getting close to God, and just being balanced, and drink a lot of water. Water is healthy, or be around the beach, and so forth. Go for some walks or something. So anyway, this is today's episode. If you did like it, do share, do tell your friends, do subscribe, okay? And that way I can continue doing these podcasts, which I love. And I'm going to be doing them way more consistently now that I have a little bit more free time to do them. But I like doing them because I like to bring awareness, okay, into the collective, so you can make better decisions, and just keep an eye on the things that are up ahead. Okay, because when we know better, we do better. That's what Maya Angelou said, right? And you want to do better because you know better, right? So, anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will talk to you soon.